amazing viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you are connecting from. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you so much and remain blessed. Whenever you look my video, whenever you watch my video, share the video to all platforms. Share it to family and friends. Share it in your WhatsApp group so that people can get information on what is happening in the contraption called Nigeria, mainly against the Biafrans, against the Duduas, against the indigenous people in the contraption called Nigeria. I try as much as possible to set the record straight. I don't preach hate speech. I don't speak against people. I set the record straight. The only important thing I do here is to make sure that the plight of the people remains on the front burner and the world will know the true story of what is going on in the contraption called Nigeria. Remember, they will always change the narrative. The government will always try as much as possible to use the conventional media to change the narrative, but that I will not allow. In this platform, we'll set the record straight and we'll say it the way it is. Not preaching hate speech, not by talking down to anybody, but setting the record straight and bringing the information to the front burner and letting the world know the exact situation of things. Each time you watch my video, you can equally go to the comment section, put down your comment, say it the way you feel it. It's so welcome. You can criticize if you so desire, but do it constructively so that we can be able to learn from one another. That is why I'm here. And now, I'm going to share with you a very important video. I hope after watching the video from the beginning to the end, you're going to enjoy the video and you continue to stick around and be able to enjoy the rest videos that are going to be coming your way from time to time. Thank you so much for coming. Today, the video I'm going to share with you is a very important video.
Well, that was a summary of the presidency in 2021 as put together by our correspondent, State House correspondent Gloria Umezuke. And basically, it summarizes a lot of the activities, highlights of the president's activities in 2021. We're now going to be reviewing that with a professor of political science, Professor Ayondiji Aino, who is the provost, College of Postgraduate Studies at Babcock University in Ogun State. Prof, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm sure that you are able to at least get some pointers from that particular report. How would you assess the president's tenure in well, maybe not the tenure will be 4 years, but how would you assess how the president carried out his activities in 2021?
Yeah, thank you very much, and I appreciate your having me on the program. Assessing the president for 2021 will take us to the point of what the president is trying to do at this point. And that is to say, the president in 2021 acted in the like manner of the previous years since he started the first tenure. And that is what he himself called to go slow and steady. And that has not solved any problem in our nation. So 2021 was also almost like ending up on a sluggish note in terms of developmental accomplishments, both in the polity, in the economy, and everywhere.
I want to take a look at the three cardinal objectives of the president when he came into office in 2015 and also in 2019. It hasn't shifted much. He promised to tackle corruption. He also wants to boost the economy and trying to remember, and security which is on the front burner. For this, if we were to assess it, strand by strand, taking these three major sectors, let's start with security. For you, what major landmarks would you say stand out in terms of how the president executed his work in 2021?
I think the president, understanding the president's approach in solving the security challenges and issues of Nigeria, we have to come to grips with the nature, the character, and the purpose of the state itself. And then what is the finality? Under this president, the nature and the character of the state remains the same. That's Nigeria is a rentier state, built on compromises and patronage and all of that. And like some of the other previous people who have spoken on your channel have all recognized, When you have a nation that is run, that is predicated on patronage, and you politicize almost everything, then you won't have much milestone that you can account for. So the political economy of security in our nation for 2021 is that which, largely depend on patronage, trying to politicize what's supposed to be a pure military affair. And the president was, saying, largely speaking, even since the beginning of his, tenure, second and first tenure in office, to be very reluctant in taking public opinion, even when it becomes very obvious. Change your minister, change your service chief, do something. All we can see is that the president has taken too much time into pumping money into security, but there's very little that we can see. Buying the Tucano, the Tucano, jet fighters were booked from 1-2 years ago, delivered, but we have not seen much as we expected. There's so much expectation of this Mr. President that is making a lot of people in the country to feel uncomfortable. The point is that you may have delivered on some other areas, but when security is almost, below average, you may not be able to seriously account that you have solved the problem, the very reason why you are elected as the president. That's why so many people are either uncomfortable or aggrieved or provoked to saying so many things unprintable about Mr. President, and he's the standard bearer anyway.
Well, I do know, just a few days ago, I was privileged to have a conversation with the president. I do know that he'll dispute your observations. For instance, he did talk about the Northeast, where he believes that, we have recorded a lot of progress. He made reference to 18 local governments that used to be under the control of terrorists, which is no longer the situation. We know that in Borno State specifically, government IDP camps are closing down and people are being asked to return home. And in many instances, they are returning. Some that are not even returning are at least staying in the city of Maiduguri and are trying to eke out a living. And so that is pointed to progress in the Northeast. He acknowledges that there are challenges in the Northwest, but he says that that's the reason why they have declared the bandits there as terrorists, so that can facilitate the work which they are doing. And I'm sure that you must have listened to the security analyst who spoke to us earlier in terms of what effect that would have on the battle against terrorism and banditry in general in the Northwest. So for you, do you think that brings some confidence into whatever criticism, we might have seen in 2021 as we move into 2022, that perhaps the security situation could indeed get much better?
Yeah, it depends on how you want to look at it. For me, what the president has achieved is nothing more than what you can reduce to tokenism. You may see on paper, when you go on social media, you see a lot of people talking about is the achievement practical, is it audio? The point they are making is not that we have not seen some little changes here and there and efforts, but there's so much that is expected of Mr. President. That's the point that we should not, gloss over. If you look at the indices of assessing whether we have achieved or not, yeah, some of the ID camps have been emptied out. There are developments in Borno, usually with the governor, the professor governor over there. But the basic indices of security assurance that the nation is coming out of the woods are really not there. We never can say point blank that those local governments are already freed from bandits or whatever, because we also read in the news that some locations in our country have people paying rent and taxes, we put, to these bandits who have taken over their neighborhood. In Niger State, which is just a border nation to Abuja, the federal capital city, we have also read of the governor's concerns about 2 local governments that are already largely infiltrated by by bandits and these unwanted elements of our society. And the fact that Abuja-Kaduna Road is perpetually unsafe, it's almost, turning out to an ungoverned territory. It speaks a lot about what we have achieved in terms of military progress. We see that a president that we have on chair is somebody who has in the past, according to the history available to us as scholars, who achieved in the past when he was a commander on the field, especially even in the northeast. But that is not the case now. We expect by now that declaring bandits as terrorists is coming almost too late, but it's better late than never. All of those activities that are coming out shows a president who said he wants to move slow and steady. And moving on slow and steady is not answering to the urgency of the need of a nation that is bleeding in the face of bandits, terrorists, Boko Haram, and kidnappers and all of that. We need a president who will act with vigor more than what President Buhari is doing currently. That is why, even with what I call tokenism of achievement, we cannot give him any credit. We need to be totally sure. I cannot, even in the Southwest, there are areas that that many of us, let me not personalize it, that many people have, decided not to bother even going home during these festivities, So, but that is not to say that in other areas, like the president mentioned in your interview with him, the Lagos Ibadan, some of those other ones, we see that is good. I was in Ibadan during the Christmas, New Year, and it took me almost just 45 minutes.
Oh dear, looks like we've lost Professor I know there, but I believe that he'll be back shortly. Perhaps that was owing to a power outage. But it'll be interesting to see just what more he has to say. There's been a lot of analysis in terms of security, what the projections will be into 2022 concerning especially now that the bandits in the northwest have now been declared terrorists. What effect he believes this will have? He's talked about vigor. Does he think that this will invigorate the security agencies in terms of how they carry out their operations into 2022? He was just acknowledging progress made in terms of, I don't know whether it is rail or roads, which one of the transport modes he took from where he was to Ibadan. But I do know that quite a number of people have reported that traveling from Lagos to Ibadan and even Abeokuta is now much easier as a result of the roads and, of course, the rail, which are now functional along those routes. So it'll be interesting to see what effect that will have on the economy in 2022 as we continue to open up, because we mustn't forget that COVID did, wreak a lot of havoc on the economy, and there was a lot of shutdown. So it'll be interesting to see just what effect these infrastructure, which have now been developed, will have on the economy in general amongst the states of Lagos, Ogun, and even Oyo as well. Ayo.
That's a good one, Maokwe. Another angle to look at that would be sustainability of those projects. Remember that, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway isn't a new one. When I was in secondary school, I remember using them and using that particular road. The one Ibadan to Oyo had gotten so bad that the Obasanjo government had to start another one altogether, which is being used now, hoping by now they would have continued to extend it on to Bumosho, Ilorin, and the rest of them. Maybe that's also part of what the president is referencing concerning infrastructure. So how we maintain those roads, it will be good to have Professor Aino's perspective on the ownership of the people. How do we take ownership of the infrastructure that's been developed and go on from there. Don't also forget, Malcolm, that this is home run for the president. This is year 2022. And what are the things that, Professor Aina, for instance, would want to see as, the legacies that have begun to evolve now? I think those things would be interesting to see. What's this home run going to look like? Malcolm.
If you ask me, I do know that the president spoke extensively about agriculture. He said something to the effect that he realized a little too late just how much of land, arable land, is still unutilized in Nigeria. I think he said just about 2.75% of Nigeria's arable land is currently being cultivated, and he says, and we don't have jobs, So he was talking about an aggressive return to the land. Now, how that is going to happen is what we wait to see. Don't forget that just last year, and that was one of the major landmarks of 2021, he fired the ministers of power and the Minister of Agriculture. We do not know if that has any link to the discovery which he's just made and what will happen in the next 17 months. But he did mention the fact that, we hope to see an aggressive return to the land. There was a question of how do you assure people with regards to security that it is okay to go back to the land? But he says, we're making some progress there. So we'll wait to see just how that is actualized. And let's not forget, he acknowledges that there are problems, there are going to be challenges with that. The fact that the way land works in the south is not how it works in the north, and that, the state governments will have to be involved. Since agriculture is also under the concurrent list, is something that state and the federal government have, powers over. So we'll wait to see just what collaboration will come out of the president's, renewed drive now, renewed aggressive drive to go back to the land. These are some of the questions that the issues we hope to be analyzing with Professor Aina. If we can get him back, we do not know if he's back now. Do we have him back?
But when we do, we'll know. But the issues that you have raised those issues are quite salient, especially given the fact that back in time we really did have very, very significant. We made significant progress through agriculture. At what point did we lose it? There are those who are accusing oil as being the villain here. Is oil the villain, really? I don't know, but you wanted to call for a particular track, Markwe?
Well, we do know that our producers have something on standby.
Well, you see, the role of traditional rulers must not be undermined, because in their areas, as I say, they know who is who, even by families, not even talk of individuals. So we have to revert to that system for us to have an effective security in the localities. For example, there were two governors that came to see me about problem for your state and one other state. I said, because the herders were in their forests, but the animals were going into the neighboring farms and eat the crop. I said, as far as I know, the farmers and the herders have been coexisting in Nigeria. Let them go and ask the local leadership what has gone wrong, why the break in communication between the local leadership and the herders that come on seasonal basis. The route they follow, the forest they confine themselves to. Why are they now extending into the farms of people? I just sent them back because these things haven't been happening this year or last year or 10 years ago. For generations, people have been living like that. No, state police is not an option. Now, find out now, the relationship between local government and the governors. Are they getting, in the third tier of government, are they getting what they are supposed to get constitutionally? Are they getting it? Try and see those people from local government that have confidence in you to tell you the truth. The fighting between local government and the governors.
Well, that was the president's stance on state policing. He believes that we should go back to traditional institutions, or we should not undermine the role of traditional rulers. But let me go back to Professor Ayodele Aina, who is now back with us. Prof, just before we lost you briefly, you were making the point about your journey over the Christmas period. Perhaps you could continue from there, and then we could take what you make of the president's stance on state police.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me back. I was just trying to illustrate that while what I call tokenism in the area of achievement of our president, and the notice, for instance, Lagos and Ibadan Expressway is now fairly, almost completed, and you can have a nice drive-through. But the point is that the primary essence of governance is the security of life and property. Then other things will follow, as it were. And if the country is not largely safe, then every other thing is nothing but tokenism. That's exactly what the point I was trying to make, that the president needs to go beyond the call of duty and change pedal from slow and steady to be on the super highway. I hope the last 1 year can be used to still leave an impression in the mind of Nigerians about the outcome of his presidency for 8 years. We need to, maybe with the declaration of these bandits as terrorists, and the urgency of the need of people around him, to leave a legacy. Maybe something can still be left, but we are far gone in the day, almost 7 years, into an 8-year administration with very little to account for in terms of security. And that overrides every other consideration, economic and diplomacy and all of that.
Those who have this belief or opinion that politics seems to play a lot of role, a significant role in how governance runs. And that's, to a good number of people, have affected the economy, security that you mentioned. Consequently, people refer to political will or a lack of it in getting a number of things done. From your assessment, would you say, how would you, position that, the role of politics or politicking in taking important decisions that affect 200 million Nigerians, especially in the year 2021 under review?
There seems to me to be some form of lethargy in government at the center. It's a little bit of lethargy, which is what you call politicking. The president himself, in the interview with two of your distinguished colleagues, said that he's going to do as much as the system can allow. That's like a surrendering, to fate, in my opinion. I think the president is elected to be president, and he has to take the bull by the horn. Every idea about dilly-dallying and changing security chiefs when they need to rise, everybody will have to shout hours before the president will take action. Even in starting out the administration, it took almost 6 months or something to appoint ministers. All of these tendencies have, impacted negatively on the accomplishment, of this Mr. President. Mr. President, came into power on a high, pedestal of people believing that we have not seen somebody who will do something tangible. The expectation may be running too high, but the president may not have done the best in meeting up that need in terms of his approach of being slow and steady. Like it's been said, there's no room for politics in matters of security. When the president's body language appears to look like you are thinking about the people who are largely involved in banditry and Boko Haram and all of that before you take very strictly military, action or policy direction. It leaves much to desire, and that's the problem that we're having with Mr. President as his subjects, and that's why so many people are now thinking, even the extremities of trying to, talk about how to get away from this entity called Nigeria, and the president from the interview you had with him, published yesterday, said that those who are looking to get out of the nation called Nigeria, he said they're only looking for the best deal. That kind of a mindset trivializes the basic necessity of life. Somebody said, what has the president done in cutting away the supply chain of this security is something we have in place. Many people now, since they can't see any government around to help them, they will easily, overlook reporting these guys to the security outfit, because reporting them, you may be exposing yourself to further danger. So they are left between the deep blue sea and the devil. So the choice will be now to just dance to the whims and caprices of these unwanted elements, and the society is slipping into largely ungoverned, pockets of ungoverned territories around our nation. It's not acceptable. Yes.
My apologies. Does that, all that you have said about the political will and all, politicking, does that have any role to play or any influence in the relationship of the presidency or the federal government with the states, the subnationals? Of course, in that interview, the president referenced some conversations with some governors that he had to send them back to go and address those issues themselves. Is this anything to do with that, or it's a different issue altogether?
Talking about intergovernmental relations in Nigeria is almost zero, because the governors, whether of APC or PDP or wherever, or ABGA, the only state where they have, they've not done, much in terms of interfacing with the government at the center. And of course, there's pointing of accusing fingers here and there. The president is talking about what the governors are doing with the local governments. They have been totally, the government at the state level, they have taken over the local government. I don't even think, as a political scientist, that I can refer to what we have in Nigeria as local government, because they have taken over everything that the local governments are supposed to do, and their budgets have been taken by the state chief executives, and they have got little or nothing. They just put some stooges, puppets in place who will bear the name local government chairman and all that. So intergovernmental relations from local to state to federal, in my opinion, is almost nil or zero. And that's, speaks to the dilemma we find ourselves as a country and the security challenges that are now exacerbated.
Well, Prof, thank you so much for your time this morning and the perspectives that you've been giving us on an assessment of the presidency in 2021 and looking forward to the home run, which is 2022. Professor Anyodiji Aina is Professor of Political Science and Provost, College of Postgraduate Studies, Babcock University, Ogun State. Thank you once again, Prof, for your time this morning.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Have a good day.
You too. Well, part of the responsibility of the president or the presidency over the past 1 year and even now is that of the budget. And the 2022 budget is already active. What are some of...
Thank you so much for your patience to watch from the beginning to the end. I hope you have learned something from the video you have just watched. The video you have just watched is to bring information to your doorstep and for educational purpose. It is not to demonize anybody. Let us watch continuously and see who can be able to make a sense out of every nonsense we are seeing. We must continue. We move. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. They will kill us. We will kill them. At the end of the day, Biafra is here. Thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please kindly subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload a video. you will be among the first to receive it. Thank you, and remain blessed. Bye-bye. See you again.